Thanks, Senator Sterle.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator Sterle. Good to see you. I'm just going to return to some questioning we went through last Senate Estimates and the now infamous emerging market strategy. You should be laughing, Jock, because, you know, to be purporting to export to North Korea as an emerging market, I mean, seriously. But anyway, we traversed that last time. We won't. Let's go. So following our exchange at last Estimates, Mr McCullough, I then headed off to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and asked them, had you, as the entity working on behalf of growers, tens of thousands of growers across the country, consulted the Trade Division of the Department of Foreign Affairs in developing your emerging market strategy? I think you already know the answer to the question. They said you hadn't. You hadn't, nor had you sought the advice of the Sanctions Department, which is actually would have been very, if you hadn't looked it up online, because it's available online, would have been very happy to tell you that you can't export to North Korea. So in response to my questioning, they told me that they were clearly going to follow up with you because that was quite concerning.
And I've written a letter back to them.
And so my question to you is, have they contacted you? What was the outcome of your discussions? I want an update.
We got a letter from that Department of Foreign Affairs, the Sanctions Department, and I've written back to them. And
what did they say?
Oh, they simply said what you said, that you can't export there. But nowhere in that document do we proposition the fact of exporting greasy wool to North Korea. That's we know that not to be a fact. We know that to be impossible. What that document, what that document is a study of processing around the world and emerging markets with processing capacity. It doesn't talk about greasy export. Firstly, no greasy wool goes from here to North Korea.
Mr McCullough, I really don't think your standing is served to continue to prosecute the fact that North Korea is a market anyone in Australia, or indeed the Western world, should be propositioning as an emerging market for any product, greasy wool or otherwise. I really would counsel you to go to what DFAT said and what your response is, rather than continue to prosecute as if it's somehow justified.
Senator McKenzie, in that document also, you don't highlight the fact that we clearly stated that wasn't an option. It just looked at the machinery, wool processing machinery, that is based in North Korea, and there is machinery based there. It wasn't about greasy.
I would counsel you to re-examine the tape of this questioning last time, where you weren't aware that there were sanctions against North Korea. But anyway, let's move on. Can we?
You make the point. We've had a discussion around the document. We understand the sensitivities.
Correct.
It's very clear that we don't do anything. The work that's been done by the company has been very important, but at the same time, we understand the sensitivities.
Thank you. So DFAT's written to you saying can't do that?
Yep.
You've written back?
Yep.
Yep. So have you engaged them more broadly to update the strategy?
We've gone back to the strategy. We've, removed North Korea from that document. That's an internal document too, by the way, that was leaked out of the company. Anyway,
it's not our first rodeo on that, Mr McCullough.
No.
So it's being updated as we speak?
It's done.
It's done. So when will that be
leaked?
Being discussed?
Leaked?
No, discussed. Have you discussed it internally?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, okay, and everybody's happy and we're all going to sanction free markets. That's excellent. Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm going to let you finish.
Who's on the bottom? Who's in the top five? If we've moved North Korea, who's in?
Well, Vietnam's certainly there, Cambodia. Myanmar's probably not likely at the moment, Laos, Bangladesh, They'd be all in the top. The clubhouse leader at this point is Vietnam, followed by probably Bangladesh. They've got a lot of processing, cotton, knit processing, so it's an easy target for us to get wool onto those systems. That's how we did Vietnam. That's how when we can get travelling and engage agents, etc. We do have a representative in Vietnam.
Great. Senator Davies just wants me to ask a very good question. We're talking about wool processing. We know the government has an advanced manufacturing strategy. The Nationals are very keen to see fibre as part of that. I mean, what representations have you made to the federal government to actually include wool processing, particularly in advanced, probably not the traditional way we treat greasy, but advanced manufacturing processing here at home?
Senator, we're aware of a number of regions of Australia and individuals that are doing scoping studies in this space to see, feasibility studies in this space to see whether it's possible to, process at a profitable level here in Australia, and they will be going after some of those funds from the government.
When will those feasibility studies be completed?
There's a big one out of Adelaide that's in the early stages. From a support point of view, from our point of view as an R&D company and marketing company, we would probably look at supporting some of those feasibility studies to get it to a certain point. In terms of lobbying the government, I don't think that's our role.
That's not in your remit, but you've got lots of friends who can help you in that.
Correct.
I would look forward to seeing those when they're completed. Just on the emerging market strategy, are you able to table that today?
The new one?
The updated one.
I haven't got it here, but we'll table it. We'll
Thank
get
you.
it.
Then it's public. Great. I just wanted to follow up on my question on notice number 9, if you've got it in your packs, where I spoke, I asked some questions about changes to the board charter, and the response I got was there were changes made to it in July 2020, and I'm specifically going to the changes around chairman's tenure, etc. There's been a big debate over a long period of time. That the changes were made in July 2020. When I actually downloaded the board charter at the time and was asking this, because I was concerned that it actually wasn't in the charter as I read it, and this is the one I spoke to, there's no reference to it. In response to my questions on notice, you actually attach a charter which says the changes were made in July 2020 after your discussions, and for easy references these appear at clauses 5.13 to 5.15. There they are, all beautiful, in. This says this was reviewed on October 2020, the next review date October 21, version 5. The one I hold up, which doesn't have the clauses, which you said was down to not being updated. I think so. This is my problem, because it actually says exactly the same thing. Review date October 2020, next review date October 2021, version 5. It also, the one I was talking to at last estimates, it seems you've revised the version control at the front of the charter about when certain clauses were added and when they weren't, but it's not reflected in the
Senator,
charter.
I'll have to look into the timing of that, unless
Mr.
you're aware.
Story, can you help me?
Hopefully, Senator.
Hopefully.
The relevant changes were adopted by the board at that July meeting. Shortly after that, a document with those revised changes should have been up on the website. I can't remember. I do not know right now while I'm sitting here whether that... So far as the references to October each year for review, that is normal for the major charters. They leverage off the ASX corporate governance principles. We look at them on no less than an annual basis to see whether there's anything there that we need to consider further changes to. Now, these changes in July, though, they didn't relate to anything coming out of the ASX corporate governance principles. They arose out of the discussions with the WICP about the chairman. So they were a bit of a...
Yes.
I don't have an answer for you about the difference between July 2020 and October 2020 about when some document found its way onto the website or not, I'm afraid. But that is the sequence. I can go and try to look back,
I'm
but
happy
that's
to
what
table
occurred.
both documents because it does seem that we're...
You found a problem there, Senator. It'll get fixed up. I don't
Yeah,
understand
no,
what
I think you've got
problem
the
is.
right document up
It'll
now
get
that's
fixed up.
reflective of the changes, etc. My question goes, though, I guess, and it's disappointing your chair couldn't be here, and I hope in the future AWI chairmen understand that they are accountable to the Australian public, not just growers, the Australian public, and it is this body that provides that accountability, not just to AWI, Dairy Australia, MLA, you name it. And my concern is that there was an issue of misleading the Senate. So I might actually discuss this with RRAT and the changes of charter at a private meeting at a later date. Just to flag to you that's an issue.
That's fair.
My next series of questions, everyone won't be surprised, is to Wool Q. So my question on notice number 8. We've got the target of 2% of growers actually selling through Wool Q, included a review of the top 30% of growers who combined were responsible for 80% of the clip. So I want to understand who these growers are and what relationship they have with AWI. What proportion are current or former board members?
Well, I think that I'm aware of certainly some former board members and some board members trading their wool on that platform. There's no doubt about that.
But in the top 30% of
I'm not sure, Senator. I'd have
producers. Could you actually take that on notice?
Sure.
Where does the top 30% cut out of our numbers?
Yeah, it's 80% of the
80 and
clip
30.
is
That's right.
30%
But
of the
in
growers.
numbers above.
And I want to know...
So to your question, Senator, yes, there will be directors who are using it. There'll be past directors who are using it, who see the value in it. I'll be selling my wool on it, and I know other directors have done.
And are you in the
also.
top 30%, Mr Laurie?
That's where I'm wondering where it is. I grow a couple of hundred bales, so I suppose I'm up around there somewhere. I don't know.
Yep. So if I could have an understanding, please, of the proportion and association with AWI. You then go on to talk about the level of consultation that you've had around Wool Q with producers, stakeholders, etc. Can you identify who you've consulted with and how around the take-up of Wool Q and the importance of it?
Well, this started back in 2014. We've been consulting with the industry. It started by way of the Wool Selling System Review, which was chaired by Graham Samuels back then. So that's when we started consulting with the
Give me the last 12 months because, you know, we've traversed this a lot. It's not working. What are you going to do to change it?
It's been a little difficult with COVID in the last 12 months now. I'm not blaming
Everyone's
that.
got Zoom now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But our consultation has largely been with brokers, with wool growers directly, with exporters. That's about it.
Okay, and how often would you meet with them to talk about?
Oh, regularly. John, you might want to...
Yes, Senator. Do I have to come to
We might kick Mr Metcalfe off.
Do you want to kick me off for a minute?
Can't kick the minister off.
I'll just relegate myself for a minute.
Thank you, Mr Story.
So certainly, in terms of... sorry, do you want my name?
Are these formal consultations or are these conversations in...
These are in terms of wool growers, they're normally a number of field officers who actually visit growers, normally via brokers, to actually, growers who have interest will sometimes contact us directly. Other times we consult with brokers specifically who have an interest, and then we'll go and talk to their growers as they request.
There are conversations going on all the time with growers. I know directors are through the WICP. There's discussions at many levels in regard to...
so formal and informal discussions about the importance of everyone getting on board.
Yes.
Well, Senator, the selling...
I'm just trying to help. How are you going to get to the 2%?
Yeah, I understand that. And look, you know, we certainly, with the support by way of consultation, felt that in the early stages of launching this platform, it would be by way of trading bales on it, a more successful rollout than what it's been. No doubt about that. You should remember that it was only April last year, by way of COVID lockdown, where the auction system was threatened, that we turned this thing on, the selling platform on. It's one small part of WoolQ. The WoolQ platform is built to serve wool growers, because when we were back in 2014, we couldn't work out why wool growers, why you couldn't sell wool any other way than by open cry auction. You can buy everything else by digitally. So we developed this platform. What the Northern Hemisphere consumer is calling out for, and the EU labelling laws speaks to this, is they want to know where the products come from, how it was processed through the supply chain, and where it's going to after it's finished. This platform has got an adjunct blockchain technology to track wool all the way through the selling system. It also has modules being built to declare what the wool is and how it's left the farm. Supply chain integrity these days is a very important thing. And there's lots of different supply chain integrity models for the wool industry. To be able to hold them all in one system and have digital information move out of the shearing shed all the way up the supply chain into the hands of the consumers is a very important part of this platform. Selling wool is one component.
Yeah, I guess things always go awry when we don't include the SFOs in our conversations.
Well, they are included.
Well, it would seem the Pastoralists and Graziers Association is very concerned that an RDC that is providing research, development and market promotion services is providing commercial services, and they've written to me, it shouldn't be providing wool trading services in any shape or form. There's no market failure that should prompt AWI to experiment in this area. And they're very, very concerned. Have you had that feedback from the PGA?
Sit on a group called the Wool Industry WICP, Wool Industry Consultative Panel. I am not aware of them making that. They sit there, and that group meet every few months. I'm not aware.
They haven't given you that feedback directly?
I'll check the minutes of those meetings, but I'm not aware of that.
All right.
So the SFOs, Senator, sit around there through wool producers.
Yep.
And through all the other member bodies sitting around the WICP. It's really important that we actually use that avenue to get information to and from. Critical. It's critical the PGA can come back to us and discuss those issues at that level, as you've got that letter back to us, and you know, for us to provide all the information to them. So all the SFOs get connected at that level. And there have been plenty of discussions to try and make sure that they then filter it down through their networks.
So if they've actually got a fundamental problem with the RDC running a commercial service...
Well, that's one piece of the WoolQ is a commercial service.
Well, that's like saying, you know, I robbed the bank, but I actually gave it to all these poor people, so I'm justified in breaking the law.
Look, there is no doubt in my time with the company, the research and development that we've done, we aim to get it into the commercial arena as quickly as we can and test it in the commercial arena. There is good reason that we haven't moved this into the commercial arena. We sought advice on that from Port Jackson partners as to the path forward by way of ownership and by way of operations. and we don't think it's the right time to put it in the hands of a commercial
that?
partner.
What was the advice?
Because of one was liquidity, one that was still building modules for this by the blockchain module and the supply chain integrity model, and so we think we're better to get them completed. But there's no doubt a ownership of this in the future, where I think the shareholders would, because they paid for it, should own at least 51%, but the commercial world should own the rest potentially, or operate it. I think that's a very real proposition.
That's where it'll go.
So you don't believe that it is operating as a commercial service at the moment?
No, we had our first. We had our first. We had a wool auction a few weeks ago that sold 342 bales or something like that.
Good.
And that was the
my next
first.
question.
That was the first sale that we actually charged for.
Yeah, correct.
For the service.
So 342 bales. How many growers have been sought out? You said in an answer that you're wanting a more longer term assessment of the success of WoolQ, and that you would be seeking out growers to register. How many have you sought out since we last spoke?
Oh, I'm not sure of that number, Senator.
I might have that. Just
How many since we last spoke?
Probably something.
there's a total of, Senator, there's a total of 3,470 registered users, 792 of which are wool growers. The others are exporters, brokers, logistics providers.
Okay, so on notice, I'd like to know that by year to see the growth. Yeah. Thank you. I just want to, and by, you said we've got brokers, we've got transporters.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. If I could have that breakdown, that'd be great. Sure. And just finally, the Prada yacht, honestly. Thank you for answering the question. Very cheap events. Very cheap. I want to know who your caterer was.
Well, if you're
For the
referring
lodge,
to the one...
for some serious, I only sail a 28-footer, it's a club boat, on Lake Hume on a Saturday. So we're very humble out at the Albury Wodonga Yacht Club. But to actually attend the America Cup final event race in Sydney on the 12th of March, we had 7 AWI staff, 21 media and industry guests, and it only cost $7,000. We had the other hospitality event was the Luna Rossa Partnership, and I apologise to my Italian friends for my obviously bad pronunciation. The announcement dinner in June 2018 in Florence, Italy. 10 guests from AWI attended, along with 22 media and representatives from said company. The total spend was $4,500.
Correct.
How did you get to Italy?
Me, personally?
No. We had 10 guests from AWI.
Yeah.
How did they get to Italy?
We have an office in Milan. We have an office in London.
So these were your Milan...
There was three attendees from Australia, John, right, myself, and Anna McLeod, who's the acting head of marketing, right, for the company, who was undertaking the project. John and I were there for a number of reasons. We were in Europe and UK for a number of reasons. Firstly, the launch event. Pity Yomo is a regular event that we attend. We have a stand presence there. I also attended ITMA conference, which is the International Textile Machinery Conference in Barcelona, which is a 1 in a 4-year event, the biggest textile machinery manufacturing conference in the world. I also retrenched the general manager of the Western Hemisphere, who was operating out of London.
So you had a few things on.
I
had a full suite of...
So this event, if the suggestion is I flew there for a dinner, that's not right.
No, I'm not suggesting anything, Mr. McCulloch. I am, other than $4,500.
You don't believe
is
that?
pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Where did Peter Ackroyd fly from?
London.
London? So who paid for the flights then?
No.
So you're saying there
AWI. AWI would have paid for it.
AWI. So
$4.5
does the $4.5 include the flights?
No, that's the dinner.
Thank you. And the $7,000 for the Sydney event for the America's Cup, is that just for the dinner or the accommodation?
It was a lunch.
It was a lunch, but doesn't include flights, etc.
No, well, it was a local event.
I'm sure. So, but I'm assuming that given it's AWI, that not everyone lives in Sydney.
I don't know of anyone that flew in for that event.
All right.
I'll check that with the marketing team. There might have been some media that flew in from Melbourne.
All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that, Mr. McCulloch. Could you actually give me a little bit more detail than you have on the total spends? I think it's been a bit loose there. And the return on investment, you've given me some quite detailed
Yeah, there is
notes.
a report, AC Nielsen, with regard to your question last time regarding the size of the logo on the sale of the boat.
And Senator McDonald, you're a phone-in guest.
Yeah, look, and I think
we didn't tee up, by the way.
No, I think you referred to Prada's symbol being a bit bigger and Pirelli's symbol being a bit bigger.
No, what I was referring to was that a lot of growers' money was spent on that, and you would have to be sailing the boat to know that.
I think in the questions on notice, we responded by way of how we're going to measure that and the proportionality of that. That's going to be done by AC Nielsen, and we will we'll provision that to the Senate.
How much is that costing?
The
AC Nielsen assessment.
I will check that.
I would like that on notice too.
Yeah.
And the date.
We regularly use them to measure our marketing projects.
I know, but they're so expensive. Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Senator
Chair.
McKenzie. I think a final question from Senator